All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the 1% Club podcast, where we dive deep into the stories of those who have walked through fire, owned their scars, and came out refined, not defined.
I like that.
I'm your host, Sean Freitas, and today's guest is a man whose story will hit home for anyone who's ever fallen, gotten back up, and made the decision to live life with purpose. Today, I've got Daniel Widders in the building, entrepreneur, barber, and most importantly, a refined man of God. From working in strip clubs to struggling with fallout of infidelity to stepping into faith and entrepreneurship, Daniel's journey is raw, real, and is the blueprint for redemption.
Dang, bro, that's a good intro.
Someone pay me for that. Someone become my first sponsor.
I feel a little insecure, bro. You got more tattoos. You're the only person I know with more tattoos than me.
That's all right.
I feel like I need to take my shirt off for the.
We're gonna get to the tattoo your head.
Man, thank you for having me here, bro. I'm excited. You're one of the greatest human beings God ever created, bro.
So are you.
No, it's because I just do what you do, bro.
Daniel, welcome to the show. Let's start where you're at right now, mentally, spiritually, professionally. How would you describe the man you are today, especially as a father of 4, a husband of 17 years, and someone who now leads Bible studies and coaches high school football?
Oh, that's a lot. I would describe myself right now as somebody who has made up their mind, like who knows who they are now versus like this fake wannabe drug dealer pimp that I used to be working in strip club for most of my life. So yeah, I've decided to follow Jesus. I've decided to be a good husband, a good father, a good friend. But yeah, that's how I would describe myself. The name of this, the 1% Club, you know? Like you look at it a little differently. I'm just trying to get 1% better every day. Let it compound over time.
The real reason I came up with that name was it was the way that I wanted people to think. I wanted them to think differently than 99% of other people, you know, and it had nothing to do with money or status. But I think that a lot of people get condemned mentally in their head and they can't get out of that. And that was me at one point. And I was like, it's really important to focus on things that you can control and let go of things you can't control.
Yeah.
And that's really why, you know, I chose that name, because in order to be different, you have to think different, and you have to change your environment.
What do you think, where did that start for you? Like, what environment did you get out of? Like, for me, for example, I got out of working in that strip club to be a barber and do podcasts with my wife and stuff like that. Like, what was the thing you had to get out of?
The poor relationship with myself, actually, because I think that the relationship I had with myself was fear-based. And, you know, it would be weird because I listen to other people like, man, look at the stuff you're doing, or you work with that person and do that. But I never felt that way. I just felt insecure. So I used those accolades to kind of, you know, build myself up, you know, and in turn, you never build your own backbone. You kind of build the backbone in someone else. And that's never a good thing. Because you're going to go through challenges in life where you're going to need yourself. And if you don't make that backbone for yourself early on, man, is that a tough thing to face when time comes. I had to do that about 2 years ago, was to face, you know, the reality of not, you know, being my own backbone for myself. And that is a hard time to go through for absolute certainty. You know, that's honestly where that 1% thought process came from, because it's like if I go down the path that everyone else goes down, do drugs, drink, go get a bunch of women, just work all day, you're going to end up like everyone else. And that was the point where I was like, I need to do something different for myself this time, you know, that doesn't involve anyone else, that's not for anyone else.
Yep.
And I think that's where that kind of started for me.
It makes me think of, there's a verse, it's like James 1:2-3, I think. It says, "Count it pure joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. And let perseverance have its perfect work, so in the end you will be complete and lacking nothing." So it's like, can't be happy when you get to go through those things, that adversity, so that in the end you won't be worried about anything.
And that's something that I struggle with even daily now, is finding the joy during the times of struggle. And then finding the joy in the times of actual joy, you know, because if you can't find joy in hard times in life, then you can't find joy in the happy times of it. And I know it sounds kind of silly, but it is true, you know, and that was for me. Like, when anything would go bad, it would like crush me mentally. Then it's all I fixate on. It wouldn't matter. I could have 3 yachts, 3 hotels, and I could own the ocean. But whenever that thought process came into my head, it condemned me. It condemned me, and I couldn't get out of it. And that's something that I'm, currently trying to work on, even to this day. It's not letting those thought processes take you over.
Well, the word says also, I know a lot of Bible, it says, take every thought captive and make it submit to the perfect will of God. It makes me think about, like, what you're saying is you're taking those thoughts captive because it's not a physical threat, or it's not like something you really need to be worried about. It's just you're inside here every time. So when you can take those thoughts captive and make them submit, it's like you win every time.
Absolutely. So you were once a Division I football player.
100 years ago.
Yeah. After a career-ending injury, you made a major pivot, ended up managing the world's largest strip club. That's a dramatic shift. What was that transition like, and what kind of mindset were you operating from back then?
I had just had my first child. I was like 22 years old, and I was scared. So it was a scarcity mindset, a fear-based mindset, and I wanted to be a bartender. So I started working for Stations Casinos. I was a bar porter, and I was just pushing around kegs. And this guy that ended up becoming one of my best friends. He's like, "What are you doing, bro? Like, you're too big to be taking out the trash and like stocking bar. You can't even fit behind the bar." And he's like, "Come work with me." So I started working at a nightclub. It was at the Red Rock. It was called Cherry. And I did that like just as a bouncer for a year. And then I opened up the 40/40 club when it was out here. And then that friend of mine left there, and he went to, it was the world's largest strip club, and he invited me to come with him and work with him. And so I'm 23 years old with a 1-year-old child, just like taking Percocets and morphine every day and getting drunk every day, just doing wild stuff. And so my mindset was, I'm going to get as much money as I can. I'm going to have as much fun as I can, and kind of like become this fake person that's not real. Because my mom, when I graduated from high school, my mom passed away, and I went down like this path. I still played college football, but it was like, it didn't make me happy. I remember stepping onto the field. My first game was at the University of Tennessee, like 110,000 people. And you got to walk on the field and you have to look up to see the sky. It's so much people. And I wasn't happy at all. Like, nothing fulfilled me. And that just led me down a path for over a decade of searching after gambling and women and all this stuff. Like, exact opposite of what you just said earlier, where it's like, you had to make up your mind, I'm not going to go after those things. I wasn't wise enough to do that. I was like, I'm going to chase everything else except for the one thing that can fulfill me, which is Jesus.
Why do you think, like, what would the drugs and stuff do for you back then? Was it just like a daily cycle? Just
hide everything. I'd wake up, take pills, take 6 shots of espresso, and then go run circles around people at work and make thousands of dollars every night. And then go gamble, stay up till 2 in the afternoon, gamble when I get off. And it was just, it was a cycle, right? Just completely doing the same thing every day over and over again. And it wasn't until a year later working in that club, I met my wife. I always say I was a stripper and she was my number 1 customer, but it was like as a joke. Like, she would come in, they'd call me up to stage, "Stretch marks, you're up in 2." But she was a VIP waitress there. So I would watch her walk in. She wasn't like any other girl that worked there. She wasn't flirting with anybody. She just had come to work an hour early, bust her butt, make her money, go home. So that attracted me to her. And then I seen her sing. I seen her just at the person she was. She wasn't like anybody I ever met. And we got together, and it started off good, and then it just was bad for a long time. And it led up to the point where she was going to leave, but God told her to stay, and thank God she did, because three kids later, and my life's changed. I've been out of that club for 6 years now, just cutting hair. Yeah, it's like, it's a crazy thing to think like you're using all these different things to like hide who you actually are. But when you have like good people like you and like Dan, who introduced us to each other, like good people in your life that actually love you and care about you and want what's best for you, can you then like figure out who you actually are? Like, you don't have to hide anything anymore. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just a nerd that loves God and loves his family and loves his friends. Like, I'm not this wannabe, like, loser person that I was trying to be.
And it's funny because in like that's what we think is cool.
Yeah.
You know, do drugs, make a whole bunch of money, sell drugs, you know, get a McLaren.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, you're empty. Eventually you're going to get in trouble, you know, because you think that you're above. You think that you're above everything.
Yeah, and it's just like anybody you look at that's famous that we idolize, you know? It's like these people aren't really happy, because if they were, they wouldn't need all of that extra stuff, you know? Like, you should be content with just whatever God has given you. And so we need to learn how to stop chasing after stuff. But it's brainwashed into us since we're little kids. What we listen to, the music, everything.
And I think, you know, there's nothing wrong with having nice things.
No,
like
no.
if you work hard and you want something nice, but don't let someone else take the joy of what you're working hard for to show them and actually not show yourself. You know, because it's like, let's get the car or this condo so I can make it seem like my life is different than it actually is. And you know, I see that a lot on social media now. Like, you go to networking events and stuff, and you know, they got the prop house. So it's like, oh, they got the prop house and they got the nice car. They must be doing well, you know. And the general public just gets sucked into that. They don't know any better, you know.
It's all fake. The enemy has a counterfeit to everything good that God has, right? You look at sex with your wife versus pornography. You look at food that's horrible for you versus stuff you can make at your house and eat every day. Like, the enemy always has a counterfeit to what God has. So I think that I see a lot of men especially who never had anything, and they think they need all this extra stuff. I need a Rolex, which is not inherently evil in itself. I need a certain brand of clothing. I need a certain car to drive. And then they finally get that thing, which is what happened to me. I had everything. 2 cars, crazy, a condo, like anything you want, I had. And then you get to the point where, like, this does not do anything for me. It does not make me happy. And then you have to make a decision. Do I keep chasing this stuff, or do I pivot and really go after what I'm actually supposed to be doing?
Let's go back a little bit and talk about the personal cost of that lifestyle. So I know that you've spoken openly about infidelity in your marriage. How did those decisions impact your home life, your relationship with Amy, and then your identity as a man?
Bro, I feel like my testimony is crazy, right? The word says we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the words of our testimony. So, like, I'm at 40 years old now, able to, like, analyze every decision I've made and understand, like, that's why I'm at where I am right now. And I think about, like, things that happened to me when I was a little kid. My mom leaving when I was 6, being molested when I was 6, like, all these things. And then my mom passing away, but my girlfriend cheating on me while my mom's dying in the hospital. Like, crazy things like that. It made me very hard-hearted. Like, after my mom passed away, I didn't even cry. Like, my grandma was punching me in the chest, like, you need to let it out. And I couldn't. I'd get home and, like, do it by myself, but I wasn't who I am right now, where I watch a Disney movie and tear up, you know?
Yeah.
And so you start to, like, harden yourself, and until you meet Jesus, or because I believed in Jesus since I was a little kid, but I ran away from everything, you know. I ran away from what's right. And until you realize, like, I don't know, I guess we keep going back to the point where it's like you don't need certain things. You don't need to be anything besides who God created you to be.
Yeah, it's funny. I think, and there are different scenarios for people. Like, for me, you know, my divorce made me hard-hearted. I'm like, all right, well, it's just going to be me, myself, and I.
Yeah.
And I'll just build an empire. And then you do that, and you just see it's bringing up old habits. You're not dealing with childhood trauma.
Yep.
And you'll just enter into the next chapter unfulfilled.
You're just going to go in circles.
This is another circle.
Yeah, I mean, the word says we go from glory to glory. When we're in Jesus, we go from better to better to better. So if you're not doing that, then something's out of whack. Like, you need to figure something out. And everybody has stuff they struggle with. Like, I struggled with my weight for a long time until I met you. I was 360, now I'm 290, you know? It's like a lot of us have different things. Like, we don't get to choose what we're tempted with. Some people are tempted with certain things that we're not. So it's like you have to continually, like every day, I feel like almost evaluate yourself. Like what specific things do I want to get better at every day? And then go at, did I get better today? Yes, no, okay, try again tomorrow if I get to wake up. But yeah, the decisions I made, especially with infidelity, I feel like now that we're helping, like it's crazy, bro. We get these messages every day. And it's like, I saw your guys' podcast, or I saw you on TikTok, and I was going to get an abortion. I decided not to. Or this lady said, I seen your guys' stuff. I decided to stick it out with my husband. And it was about 6 months ago when it went down, when I found out he was cheating. We stuck together, and our son just died last week. But he has been my rock. I can't imagine if we weren't together anymore. And it's like, me cheating on my wife got a clear word from God to stay, because she could have left, no questions asked, right? She stayed, she stuck it out, and that decision she made, her godly obedience led to me becoming the man that I am right now. If it wasn't for her or other people that are in my life that obeyed what God told them to do, I wouldn't be who I am. And so it's like I can't even take credit for anything that I have right now. It's all God, it's all my wife, it's all my best friend, my dad, my family. Like, that's who I am right now. So those decisions, while they like, it was more of like an insecurity for me. Like I wanted to bang as much women as I can and get as much money as I could. It wasn't like, it became like an addiction. Same with pills or gambling. It wasn't like if it was fulfilling me or making me happy, but it led to being able to help. Right now on TikTok, we've helped, it's over 12 million people. Which is
crazy.
It blows my mind, bro. And my wife told me God told her that we should start doing this. It was last.
And the crazy part, like, you know, I set up this podcast room, but you need a couch and 2 mics.
That's it.
And the word.
That's it.
And an
and
ear
a good
that
wife.
listens. That's it.
A good wife. And people that need help. Because, bro, we released it's like a monthly journal, right? Simple PDF. And people who are purchasing this, it's all over the freaking world, bro. Somebody in Australia bought one. Someone in Uganda, like, how much is $7 in Uganda, bro? And somebody's buying this. It's all over America, South Dakota, like towns I've never heard of in my life. And you start to realize it's not just me working in a strip club with entertainers and waitresses. It's literally across the whole world. People are experiencing infidelity, and it's something that they could overcome. Like, you could leave your relationship, you could leave your marriage, or you could try to work things out. It's over 60% of relationships experience infidelity, which is crazy, bro. Crazy. I guarantee you, everybody in here you know that has been married has experienced. I'd say 99% have experienced it.
And I think it happens because one person or 2 people need to grow. They need to grow. So it's almost like it's a sign that comes in, like, here's the challenge, you know. And it sucks that it has to come in that type of a message, but you know the story. You don't change unless hard change comes in front of you.
Yep.
You know, like you're a product of your environment. That's always a testament. That is the truest thing.
I got that tattooed on my back. Yeah, bro. I think like when I first cheated on my wife, it was like the enemy had sent somebody on an assignment because he could see what God could do with my wife and I together. And then I just spiraled out of control. Like, it was multiple different females, and it was like, it wasn't like I cared about any of them or anything, and I would always go back to my wife. And yeah, bro, I think that it all stems from, like, I never want to make an excuse for why people cheat, because nobody should be cheating. You could break up and just go be with somebody else. But I think there's a lot of people who, like me, have been molested when they're a little kid, or their parent left, or their mom or their dad.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Like, it's so many different reasons. It's not just, we're not born to be cheaters, you know? Like, something happens, and then we make a decision. Like you said, either you stand strong, you stand firm, and you don't do it, or you're weak, like how I was, and you do it.
You spent over a decade in the adult entertainment industry. What was the final breaking point for you that made you decide to walk away from that world completely?
It's kind of a crazy story. It was a lot of things. One of my best friends robbed me for a lot of money. I was robbing people. I was doing crazy stuff. And I had my first son. And I didn't want him to grow up like that. And I remember my wife finding out I cheated on her, and she just told me, like, I'm done. And I went to work that night, and she was gonna like off herself. And she went into our son's room, and she looked at him like, nope, I'm not gonna give up on you. And she heard God tell her to stand.
Wow.
And I came home that next morning, and I told her, I'm gonna go to barber school. I'm gonna give you all my passcodes. You have full access to anything I have. And she decided to stay. And I went to barber school, and little things would start to happen. Like all I would do all night is hook girls up. They would make a bunch of money. They would come back and pay me. And there was 5 girls I put in this room. It was the most money I made in one night. And it was a lady, older lady, like 60 something. She was a stepmom, and then she brought her stepson that was 40 something, and it was the step grandson's 21st birthday. And they stayed up there for hours, and they all came back, paid me, and I'm counting the money, and my main girl was like, man, the stepmom started having sex with the stepson. And I was like, what? She's like, yeah, they said they've been doing it since he was a little kid. And I was like, I'm counting the most money I've ever made in one night is from a stepmom that has sex with her stepson, paying five different entertainers. I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, this is not for me. And I started going back to church. I found a church, and I would pray on the way to work. So I found a church. It was like February 2019. And I'd pray on the way to work. I'm like, God, please don't let me stay here longer than you want me to be. And I'd go to church Sundays at 6 p.m. I'd go to work at the club at midnight. There'd be butt cheeks clapping in front of my face. I'm like, what am I doing with my life? And all the way up until it was that July, I ended up getting suspended. And I had never been in trouble ever at that club, never written up, never sent home, nothing. And it gave me an opportunity to like sit back and think. Like, I have my own barbershop. I have a barber license. My wife was 5 months pregnant with our second son. I was afraid, and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to go back. And I had, his name is Omar El Takori. He has one of the best podcasts. He's one of the best business coaches I know. But I just sat down with him. I looked in the eyes. I'm like, I'm thinking about going back. And he didn't even say anything. He just looked back at me. And I was like, yeah, nah, I'm not going back. I'm just going to see what God has. And that was 6 years ago. And I ain't missed a meal. My family's good. So it's like you walk away from hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars, right, for maybe a few hundred a week. But the exchange isn't about the money. It's about, I'm not afraid of going to work and something crazy happening to me. I'm not afraid of losing my family. I'm not afraid of that stuff anymore. Now it's just like, I'm going to build this thing that God has put like on my heart to do and help as many people as I possibly can so they can get out of that stuff too. But yeah, bro, I think we all, like you said earlier, we have to make that decision at some point. Are we going to continue to be a boy, or are we going to grow up and be a man or a woman?
No, 100%.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the strip club, like, there's a lot of great people, right? There's girls here that probably are entertainers that are great human beings that maybe have kids or whatever circumstance put them in that club, and they can't figure out how to get out yet. I've met my wife at that club. Like, I've met some of the best people I know from that place. Like, one of my best friends that owns multiple strip clubs, I met him there. So it's not that the people are bad. It's like you said earlier, the environment it wears down on you. And I've only met maybe 1 or 2 people who have worked in that environment that didn't change. It didn't change them at all.
Yeah, but it's hard because like it's just what you're seeing and what you're around,
And it's nothing new, bro. All this stuff's in the Bible. Infidelity, King David, bro, cheating, killing, murder. You look at one of my favorite stories is Gomer. She was a prostitute, right? And God told this prophet to not leave her, and he decided to keep going back. It's like my wife and me. Like, I was prostituting myself out for money and doing all this crazy stuff, and my wife decided not to leave me. And even that story about the stepmom having sex with her stepson, that's in the book of Corinthians. It's like that this stuff ain't nothing new. The devil's been messing with people for thousands of years, and he knows exactly how to tempt us, our families, our family lines. So it's like, at some point you have to decide, which the word decide literally means to cut off every other option.
Yes.
That's what you have to do.
That's making the choice.
Yep.
You got to make that change. You talk about being refined, not defined by your past. That's powerful. What does that look like practically in your life, and how do you help other men shift into that same purpose?
I was listening to, maybe it was a podcast or I read it somewhere, but these women, older women, they wanted to see what the process of refining silver looked like. So they went to a silversmith, and he let them sit there and watch him refine silver. And I think it was 7 times he had to burn it in the fire to get all the impurities after it. But the 2 things that stood out to me is he never walked away from the silver, and then he didn't stop refining it until he could see his reflection like a mirror. And that's how God treats us. He refines us. He burns. Once you give your life to Jesus, he burns all that crap off of you over time. It might take 7 times. It might take more times than that. But in the end, you're going to be looking just like him. You're going to be brand new. So that process for me is every day getting up, spending time with God, talking to him, being in my word, surrounding myself with good men that actually care about me. Back then, my best friend was like, "Oh, we're going to F these girls and get this money for the rest of our life." And it's like, I don't have nobody in my life that's talking like that right now. And so, yeah, that process is you have to surrender yourself. You can't do this on your own, right?
Yeah. I think, that's interesting because I remember I started going to City Light, and every time at the end they're like, if you feel the calling, like raise your hand. So I'm like every day in my head I'm like, I want to raise my hand, but I don't want no one to see. So I'm always like, I'm like looking around, and then one day I just decided I said, oh fuck it, I need to raise my hand. Yeah. So I did, and then then like several months went by again. And then I had to understand, I was like, I got to raise my hand again. I'm just not there yet. So I didn't actually take it as an act of failing. I took it as an act of, okay, this may need to happen more than one time here. Like there's some layers to this. Like every time I think I'm getting better, or okay, I think I've found myself, that's it. You're nowhere close to that. And then you'll keep breaking those layers down. And but it's interesting now, because now if I have to do it again, I don't really care what other people see or think. I think
you out here walking around with no shirt on all day, fully tatted.
I was like, damn, I was in the front of the church. Shout out to Dan Ige, trying to get me to the front of church on the first day. I said, whoa, hold on, I'm not ready for that. But you see, it's just interesting because it was like, I wonder what other people are going to think. That's all that I was thinking in my head. Like, I'm not going to do this for me, but what are these other people going to think?
Where do you think that comes from? Why do you think you think like that?
I think it's that fear of not being good enough for people or someone, and then letting that kind of control you.
Where did that come from?
I think it came from my childhood. And then I used fear and not having like enough resources as like a fuel to the fire. So I don't think I ever really had like a good relationship with myself, And if you don't have a good relationship with yourself, you can't have a good relationship for others. Yep. And then it's interesting because, you're with significant others and stuff, and you realize if they go through something similar, then they got a similar story and a similar thing. So if you got 2 people that don't know how to treat themselves right, like what do you mold after? What do you learn after? There's nothing to like. There's no roadmap. Yep. Like what kind of roadmap am I supposed to look for in a marriage or in a relationship when I didn't even know my dad? Yeah. So it's that's interesting. There's no roadmap. So I found myself, okay, now that's when I started understanding how to process, the things that were going on in my mind. That it was just like, you have to have frames of reference, and you have to create those. And you have to create them tangibly too. You can't just think about things. You have to go out and do them. It takes action to overcome things. You can't just think it. And
it's being wise enough to see who is surrounding you that has what you like, right? I like how this guy treats his wife. I like how this guy builds his business. I like this guy, how he works out and works his butt off. And then surrounding yourself with those people, because I think a lot of us don't, we were raised completely wrong from what we should be doing.
Yeah.
But when you get when you open up the word, right, it tells you who you are. It says that when we were in our mother's womb, that God wrote our story for us. It says that we are more than conquerors in Christ Jesus. It says all these. So instead of us thinking about what other people have told us, about ourselves that's not true. The only opinion that we should have is what God says about us. And he's not going to tell us anything negative. So anytime one of those thoughts come in our head, that's obviously not from God.
And it's interesting that you said that, because let's go back to, like, if I show you my phone to this day, it's like, hey Sean, can you get me tickets to this? Can you get me tickets to the Raiders game? Can you connect me with this person? Can you connect me with this home builder? Can you connect me with this realtor? I was like, damn. Like, if at first it was cool to be the connection guy.
Yeah.
And I got the opportunity to work with all different kinds of entrepreneurs, hundreds of athletes. And I'm like, do these people even like me for me? Do they even know me? Do I even know me?
Yeah. Well, you have to test them. You have to test everything, which I think was a huge blessing for me leaving that strip club. Like my best friend now, Gene, like he was a non-believer who just cut hair all day. And like you said, cut everybody you can name, LeBron James, whoever. He's cut everybody's hair you can name. And I seen that this dude is a way better person than me, and he doesn't even believe in God. So it's like getting myself around him, and it makes you realize, like, okay, he doesn't want nothing from me. Like, he's seen me with tons of money. He's seen me with no money. He treats me the same no matter what. He still tells me I'm lame or whatever. Calls me gay every day, right? He still talks crap to me every day, calls me fat, whatever. But he still treats me the same. So it's like getting people like that versus being the connection guy, where it's like, I think that's something that most men struggle with, is people always want something from us. And it's like, it's never like, what can I do to help you?
Exactly.
And especially like if you're married, right? That's our responsibility to take care of our family, our wife, and our kids, what they need before they even ask. So it's like we have that compiled with business, compiled with people asking for stuff. Like that will break you down if you're not ready.
I'm glad you said that, because I think that especially being married, long-term relationship is, for men, you don't want to ever feel weak. So you find yourself never discussing with your significant other the struggles that you're going through, because you don't want to seem weak to the person closest to you.
Dang, that's so good.
I mean, but you do that for a long time, and that's where the problem comes from, because you don't even know how bad you get. Like, you don't even know how mentally bad you get, because you're just not wanting to show other person, because you're supposed to be there for them. So that digs you into quite the deep hole.
That's fire.
And then and then it's hard to get out of that, and then the person doesn't understand.
Yep.
How come you can't be there for me? Well, shit, I can't be there for me.
Yeah.
But I've been there for you, but I'm in there invisibly. I don't say how bad things are.
Yeah.
I don't tell you how bad I feel, because I'm a man. I don't want to show that weakness. I don't want to make someone else carry the burden on me.
So what's the solution, you think?
You got to be open about it. You got to be open about it. You got to really have a close circle of people around you that you can go and talk to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You have to have that. I think that's imperative. They don't need it. It should not be driven by status. It should not be driven by money. It should not be driven by sex or race. Like, whoever your people are as a human being, you got to go and get close to them.
Yeah.
It's going to be a few of them, but it's important to be able to talk to those people for sure.
It changed my life. Like Dan, I'll go to his house, take an ice bath, sit in the backyard. He'll make me an espresso, talk about life. Those talks changed my life, bro. They help you forever. Like, that stuff you'll never forget. But if you don't get out of your comfort zone and you don't get around different men of God or different men that actually care about you, like, you're just going to be, the only time you should ever be isolated is in your word or talking to God. Besides that, we shouldn't isolate ourselves. Especially like as men, I think that causes a lot of men. Our suicide rate is 4 times more than women. Like, we die 20 years earlier than women. It's like, if we don't figure out how to change that, it's not going to get any better. It's only going to get worse. But like what you're doing with this, like, this is crazy, bro. This is going to explode. This is going to be great. You're going to help millions and millions of people, like, get through the same, like, the hardest thing you ever been through will be easy for these people, because they have the whole blueprint.
And people have to talk about it. I remember distinctly, I was driving to work one day, and I was listening to loud music. loud rap, loud rock, but I'm driving and then I have the music all the way up, and then I hear nothing but the volume's all the way up, and I start thinking to myself like I didn't want to be here anymore. Like I wanted to crash my car. I was, ooh, that's kind of a weird thought, but I just got to work. Then I got in my car again to go home. Same thing happened. The next day, the same thing, and this was going on for like 3 weeks. I'm like, okay, this is not good. Something's definitely wrong.
Dang, I got my phone. I didn't get no missed calls during that period of time.
So that's that's when I started to to start talking to people, because I'm like, okay, this isn't a normal behavior for me, and I can assure you that no one is susceptible to thoughts like that. It doesn't matter how tough you are, but when you're facing something that you feel like you can't get over, it's going to get real dark for you. But it can also get real light if you have the people around you that you can go to, even if it's one person. Because what happens in that time, you feel like you got no one around you and you're being like sucked away from everything, Yep. And then I promise you that it hides in plain sight. And that's why I made the podcast, and that's why I talk to people the way that I do, because people are suffering in plain sight, and it takes people that have been through that to identify them. Like, no, there's something wrong there, And then now I find myself talking to a lot of people. I'll identify that they're going through something because I'm just listening to them now. I'm processing them and I'm watching their actions, and it's incredible because these are powerful people that people idolize, and I'm like, this person's going through something, and then I start talking to them, and that I've actually developed incredible friendships that way by doing that. But yeah, I'm telling you that no one is susceptible to this stuff at all.
Bro, I remember my sister passed away. My sister was like my mom. My mom left me and her when we were kids, and she basically raised me, her and my dad, and she passed away. And I remember driving to her funeral, and I had me, my wife, my kids in the car. I'm like, I don't want to go to this funeral. Like, I want to just be done and go I don't want to deal with this anymore. And like you said, that thought comes into your head, and you have to like take it captive, and you have to be like, nah, bro, like this is not the end. And you realize, what's that saying? It's like, we've survived 100% of our worst days. So it's like, just keep getting up. I look at Gene taught me this when he was going through a tough situation, and he started lifting weights a lot. And I asked him, like, how much does a 45-pound plate weigh? It's 45 pounds, right? Does that ever change? It's always going to be 45 pounds, right? The only thing that changes is you lifting it up over and over and over and getting stronger and stronger and stronger. That's the only difference. The weight that made you want to off yourself, that weight of my sister passing away, the different weights that people carry, it's always going to be the same weight. The only difference is that your ass got stronger and was able to lift it more. That's it. Yeah. It's never going to change, though. So it's like, I always say that, it's like, you have to keep doing it, bro. You have to keep getting up, and over time it's going to be nothing. Like, imagine when you first start, when you didn't have all these muscles, bro, versus now, how much stronger you are now. Deadlifting 800 pounds, doing crazy stuff, versus when you first started, bro, you couldn't do none of that. So apply that to everything in life. Just keep getting up, keep lifting the weight.
100%. So let's talk about entrepreneurship. You co-own Faction Barbershop with your best friend Gene, and you and Amy also own ANTD Supply, and co-hosts ANTD Podcast. That's real legacy building. How do these ventures reflect your journey, your faith, and your mission to pour into others?
I think it all has to go back to faith, because the word says without faith it is impossible to please God. And so you think about that. The Bible says we're each given a measure of faith, and we just need a little bit of faith that can move mountains. And it's true. Everything you do as an entrepreneur requires faith. Like, you have to believe in yourself, or believe in God, believe in your team, believe in the people around you. And so for me, it's like I built like multi-million-dollar businesses for other people, and I've made millions of dollars doing that. It's like, if you can figure out how to do that on your own, then how much more would it be to, like you said, to leave a legacy for your kids, kids that could, like, right now we have hundreds of videos. If I died right now, my kids know who I am. They know what I believe. They know where I'm going to be at waiting for them. Like, there's no question about it. And so I think, it goes hand in hand. You're building something for your family, for that legacy, but you're also building something to help as many people as you can. So, I forgot the exact question you asked. But
no, that was good. That was good. It's interesting you said that. One of my favorite quotes is "It's kind of fun to do the impossible" by Walt Disney. I just posted that the other day because it is fun to do the impossible.
Bro, you're scared to death. You don't know what's going to happen every day.
Exactly.
You have no clue what's going to happen today.
Yeah, but you have to let go of that control of trying to be in control. Honestly, it's not how you produce innovation.
That's good. You can't have fear. You can't have worry. The word says, "Who by worrying can add inch to their stature." That's why we're so tall. We don't worry about nothing.
Exactly.
And I tell that to my wife all the time. Like, if you could show me in the Bible where it says to be afraid or worry about anything, then I'll start. But until then, I'm going to keep doing what I'm supposed to do. And so, man, we just need to get up every day and do the best that we possibly can, and then repeat it over and over again.
That's right. For the man listening right now who feels like he's too far gone, too broken to come back, what would you say to him?
Stop lying to yourself. Was going to lose my whole family. Okay, I lost my mom already. I had to get back surgery. I was going to try to make it to the NFL. I had to get back surgery. Went back, played, got hurt again, done. Not going to the NFL. Hooked on painkillers for over a decade. Drinking, smoking weed, gambling all my money away. Multiple women, right? Rock bottom, right? No money. I had $934 to my name when I stopped working at that strip club. Nothing, right? And God has sustained me day after day after day. We don't need to worry about tomorrow. You can plan for tomorrow. You can have goals, and all that stuff is good. But what has God given you today to steward, right? Now, what does he put in your hand? Multiply that the best you can. And God gave you life, right? You woke up today. You're not dead, right? So you have a chance. Being at the bottom is a huge opportunity. I feel like it's a benefit. When people get handed everything, they don't appreciate it. When you have to figure out how to get back up, like you said at the beginning of this podcast, right? You fall down, you get back up. The Bible says the righteous man falls down 7 times, gets back up 8. You have to keep getting back up.
At the bottom, or in times of severe uncertainty, you will be tested to make sure that what you want and the things that you believe in, that your will is strong enough to be successful, and actually and make sure that you actually want them. Yeah. Like, is your dream that important to you? And for me, it's like my dream is so important to me because my dream is actually not for me. My dream is for others and the way that it connects others. So it was like, it's way bigger than me. So I for sure understand that I was put into this world and being able to build this platform to bring people together. So for me to not honor that, and for like no matter what's happening, is just not an option. You know, so when I was at that rock bottom, like, I'm not letting anyone, anything, any circumstance, any hardship take away my mission on this earth for the dream of being able to connect people to other people and help them. It just looks like this, but it's much deeper than that. It's much deeper than a gym and a wellness center. Yeah. It always has been. It always will be. They'll be like, what is Project Levine, or these other things that I'm working on, or my other company, Fortify Human Performance. It's like, it's always been much bigger than the actual things that you can see. And, once you come in, to that circle, and I start talking to people, and that word and that message starts getting spread, it's just like a church. It's no different than what a church is. Yep. A church is a physical embodiment of a message that you want to share with others. Yep.
Facts, bro. And I think without God having put people like my wife or Gene, my boy Danny, Dan, you, a lot of people that God has strategically placed in my life, and I've prayed for that, right? Like, I've asked God to remove the people out of my life he doesn't want in my life and bring the people he does. And I watch him do it all the time. And so if you're at rock bottom right now and you don't want to do it anymore, just look up, and there's somebody there that wants to help you, just like you want to help people. You're one of the most generous, kind, you're a freaking will kill somebody, right? But you also give your shirt off your back to anybody, right? So realize there's people like us out there that want to help people because it brings us pleasure. Because people like us, when you mess with us personally, it doesn't really bother us. But when you mess with somebody we care about, like, we'll scorch the earth for you.
Yeah.
So
or when you mess with the message that we're trying to send.
Exactly.
You know, because now you're not just messing with one life. You could be messing with 10 million. You know.
Bro, it's funny you say 10 million. I went on Chat GPT. I said, if I help 10 million people overcome infidelity and overcome all this stuff, and then they tell one person, and they tell one person over the next...
You got 12 million views.
Well, no.
If
I did the Chat GPT did the math for me. Over the next 5 years, it will help 8 billion people.
Isn't that crazy?
You could help the whole world, bro. Through a podcast mic, through your phone. You could help everybody, bro. It's crazy. And imagine if there was 100 people that thought like us. Like, it would be, nobody would be worried about anything, bro. But people are too focused on stuff that doesn't matter. And I think it comes back to your health, right? Your spiritual health, your mental health, your physical health. And then it comes back to your relationship with your girl, with your friends. And then it comes back to your financial, you being an entrepreneur. You're entrepreneur, you're building something that you have a vision that God is giving you for. It's like, if you put those three things in line, like, you'll be unstoppable.
Absolutely. Daniel, thank you. I can't call you Daniel.
Daniel?
Yeah.
That's what my wife calls me.
Big D, thank you so much for showing up with the truth, with transparency, and with heart. This episode is a reminder that your past is not your prison. It is part of the process. For anyone listening, if you're in a dark right now, just know you can rise, you can rebuild, and you can redefine what your life looks like. This is the 1% podcast, and I appreciate you, man, so much for being on here.
Love you, my brother.
This was long overdue.
Love you, man.
And,
I said I love you.
I love you, too. And it's interesting because, like, I was coming to get this is like my platform, but your platform is you got the podcast now, but you don't really understand what you do for people one-on-one in the chair. And I was just coming to get a haircut from you because I needed to talk to you every week. I
feel like a lot of people, I'm not the best barber in the world, but I feel like I'm what I want to be the best at, what I want to be known for. If I die today, that man loved me more than anybody has ever loved me. So every person I talk to, I want them to feel that. And that goes back to something God told me to do before, when I ran away from him after he told me that he wanted me to show people how much he loves them. That's what I'm going to do until I take my last breath, is show people how much God loves them.
I love that, man. I love that. You. Thank you again for being on here, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Love you, bro.
Love you too.